The voice on the phone was calm. Too calm. Congratulations, Mrs. Kang. You've made yourself too public to kill quietly. But you've also made yourself a permanent enemy. That's when I realized going viral might have saved my life, or it might have just signed my death warrant. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. If you're just joining this story, here's what you need to know. 3 weeks ago, I threw a champagne glass worth more than most people's rent at a marble wall. My name is Zainab Okoye Kang. I'm Nigerian, and I'm married to one of Korea's most powerful and dangerous men, King Ji-won. For 21 days, he refused to speak to me. We lived in the same mansion but slept in separate wings. He communicated through staff, avoided eye contact, treated our home like a mausoleum. Why? Because he overheard me tell my best friend I felt trapped in our marriage. He thought I regretted everything, that I wanted out. But that wasn't the truth. What I actually felt trapped by was being shut out of his world. You see, Ji-won isn't just wealthy. He's connected to Korea's criminal elite. And someone was trying to destroy him. A criminal organization called the Beat Consortium had planted evidence to frame him for money laundering. So I did something insane. I discovered his secrets. I went undercover at a reunion party. I recorded a corrupt prosecutor named Kim Sung-hoon confessing to evidence tampering and bribery. I exposed everything. The prosecutor went to prison. My marriage was saved. Ji-won and I were finally on the same side. But then came the 3M phone call, the one that changed everything. The Beat Consortium had discovered my involvement, and they put a price on my head. 5 billion won. That's for millions dollars. Dead or alive. My husband wanted us to run. Disappear into witness protection. New names, new faces, new lives in a country where no one would ever find us. He'd already arranged everything: fake passports, extraction teams, safe houses across 3 continents. I chose differently. I chose to fight back. I chose to go public. And what you're about to hear is what happened when I walked into a television studio with a target on my back and bet my entire life on the power of going viral. Stay until the end, because the Beat Consortium made me an offer I never saw coming. And the choice I made after that, it changed everything. If you haven't seen part 1, the link is in the description. But you can follow this story without it. Now let me tell you about the most dangerous 48 hours of my life.
They say going viral can save your life. I was about to find out if it could also end it. 48 hours. That's how long Ji-won gave me to change my mind about going public. 48 hours to choose between disappearing into witness protection with a new name and a new face, or stepping in front of cameras and betting my life on the court of public opinion. I chose the cameras. You're insane, Ji-won said for the 5th time that morning, watching me apply lipstick in the bathroom mirror. Not the subtle nude I usually wore. Red. Bold. The kind of red that said I wasn't hiding anymore. The Beat Consortium has killed people for far less than what you're about to do. Then they'll have to kill me on live television. I blotted my lips, checking my reflection. The woman staring back looked nothing like the one who'd thrown that champagne glass a week ago. She looked harder, sharper, like someone who'd already made peace with dying. In front of millions of witnesses. In front of the international press. While my story trends on every social media platform in Korea. And if that doesn't stop them, I turn to face him. Then at least I die standing up instead of running scared. He closed his eyes like I'd physically hurt him. We were in the safe house in Gangnam, 3 stories underground with enough security to protect a president. His team had swept it 6 times for bugs. The Beat Consortium didn't know we were here. Yet. The interview is at 2 p.m., I said, checking my watch. KBS News. Prime time slot. They're calling it an exclusive expose a copyright on corruption in Korea's elite families. By tonight, my face will be everywhere. By tonight, you could be dead. Or I could be untouchable. I walked past him into the bedroom where my outfit hung waiting. Not the emerald dress this time. A navy blue suit. Professional. Authoritative. The kind of thing you wear when you're about to accuse some of the most powerful people in Korea of conspiracy and attempted murder. This is the plan, Ji-won. We agreed. I agreed because you gave me no choice. No. You agreed because you know I'm right. I started changing, keeping my back to him. They want me scared and silent. They want me to be the foreign wife who knows nothing, sees nothing, says nothing. But I'm done being invisible in my own life. The silence stretched between us. Then I felt his hands on my shoulders, gentle despite the tension in his body. I can't lose you, he whispered against my hair. Not like this. Not to them. You won't. I turned in his arms. Because we're smarter than they are. Because we're not playing by their rules anymore. And because I trust you to have a plan B, C, and D if something goes wrong. His mouth curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. Plan B is an extraction team on standby. Plan C is fake passports and a flight to Nigeria within 4 hours.
Plan D. He stopped. Plan D?
Plan D is me walking into the Beck Consortium's headquarters and negotiating your life with mine. I grabbed his face with both hands. There is no Plan D. You understand me? We live through this together or not at all. That's no to euro. Together, I repeated, harder this time. That's what partnership means. You don't get to sacrifice yourself to save me any more than I get to die alone to protect you. The car picked us up at noon. Not Jaiwon's usual driver, someone from his most trusted inner circle, a man who'd been with his family for 20 years. We drove through Seoul's afternoon traffic in silence, both of us lost in our own thoughts. I kept checking my phone, watching the time tick down. 1:47 p.m. 13 minutes until everything changed. My phone buzzed. A text from Chioma, my best friend back in Lagos. Girl, whatever you're about to do, I'm praying. Love you. She didn't even know what the interview was about.
Just that it was big.
Just that it was dangerous. That's what real friendship looked like. 1:52 p.m. 8 minutes. Jaiwon's hand found mine in the back seat. His palm was sweating. I'd never felt him sweat before. Even when we'd been planning Prosecutor Kim's takedown, even when the evidence had clicked into place, he'd been ice. But now, driving toward a television studio where I was about to paint a target on my back, his hand was shaking. I love you, he said quietly. I don't say it enough. But I love you more than I've ever loved anything in my life. I know. I squeezed his fingers. I've always known. The KBS building loomed ahead, all glass and steel and modern Korean architecture. Satellite trucks lined the street. Someone had leaked that this interview would be explosive. Probably Jaiwon's people, spreading the word to make sure maximum eyes were watching. The more public this was, the safer I'd be. In theory. 1:58 p.m. 2 minutes. We pulled into the underground parking garage. The extraction team was already in position. 3 cars, 2 motorcycles, and enough firepower to start a small war if necessary. Jaiwon had spared no expense on my security today. If the Beck Consortium made a move, they'd have to go through an army first. Security met us at the elevator. Not just building security. International protection specialists. Former military. The kind of people who got paid 6 figures to keep presidents alive. Jaiwon had hired 6 of them just for me. The makeup artist in the green room tried to cover the circles under my eyes, but I stopped her. Leave them, I said. Let people see that I haven't been sleeping. Let them see what fear looks like on someone who's choosing to speak anyway. She nodded, understanding. Instead, she focused on making my eyes look even more intense, my lips even bolder. War paint for a different kind of battle. The producer came in at 2:05. We're ready for you, Mrs. Kong. I stood. Smoothed my navy suit. Checked my reflection one last time. Jaiwon caught my hand as I passed. Last chance to back out. Not a chance in hell. The studio lights were blinding. Anchor Kim Min-suk sat across from me, Korea's most respected investigative journalist. A man who'd built his career on exposing corruption in high places. If anyone would handle this interview with the gravity it deserved, it was him. The cameras went live. Good afternoon, I'm Kim Min-suk, and this is a KBS News exclusive. His voice was grave, professional. Today we're speaking with Zainab Okoye Kong, wife of businessman Kong Jaiwon, who has come forward with explosive allegations about corruption, evidence tampering, and organized crime at the highest levels of Korean society. He turned to me. Mrs. Kong, you've stated that your life is currently in danger. Can you tell us why? I looked directly into the camera, into the homes of millions of Koreans watching, into the eyes of the Beck Consortium members who are probably watching this with growing rage. 3 weeks ago, I began my voice study. I discovered that my husband was being framed for money laundering by a criminal organization called the Beck Consortium. The evidence against him had been planted by a corrupt prosecutor named Kim Sung-hoon, who was on their payroll. I have recordings of Prosecutor Kim admitting to evidence tampering, bribery, and conspiracy. I pulled out my phone, queued up the audio. Let Prosecutor Kim's drunken confession play for all of Korea to hear. The journalist's eyes widened. This is Mrs. Kong. This is extraordinary evidence. How did you obtain it? I went undercover at a social event. I wore a recording device, and I got him to confess everything. I leaned forward, but that's not the most important part of the story. 5 days ago, the Beck Consortium discovered my involvement. They put a 5 billion won bounty on my head, dead or alive. And I'm here today because I refuse to be silenced by fear. You're aware that by going public, you're making yourself an even bigger target?
Yes.
But I'm also making myself untouchable. The Beck Consortium operates in shadows. They rely on people being too afraid to speak out. Well, I'm not afraid anymore. And if anything happens to me after this interview, the world will know exactly who's responsible. The interview went on for 45 minutes. I laid out everything. The planted evidence, the corrupt officials, the network of money and influence that the Beck Consortium had built over decades. I named names. I showed documents. I held nothing back. By the time we finished, my phone was exploding with notifications. The interview was trending #1 on Korean Twitter. International news outlets were already picking it up.
CNN,
BBC, Al Jazeera. My face was going global in real time. Jaiwon met me as I left the studio, surrounded by security. It's done, I said. It's just beginning. He showed me his phone. The Prosecutor General just announced an emergency investigation into the Beck Consortium. The police commissioner has put a protection detail on you. And he smiled, actually smiled. The Beck family patriarch just had a very public stroke. Convenient timing. Is he dead?
no.
But he's incapacitated. And his sons are turning on each other trying to figure out how to contain this mess you just created. He pulled me close, not caring that security and cameras and half the world could see. You magnificent, terrifying woman. You actually did it. We made it back to the safe house without incident. But that night, as we lay in bed watching the news coverage of my interview, Jaiwon's phone rang. Unknown number. He put it on speaker. Congratulations, Mrs. Kong. The voice was old, cultured, speaking in perfect English. You've caused quite a bit of trouble for my organization. My blood went cold. Who is this? Someone who appreciates audacity. Your gamble worked. You made yourself too public to kill quietly. Very clever. But you've also made yourself a permanent enemy. My organization has a very long memory. Then remember this. I said, taking the phone. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not running. And if you come for me, I'll destroy you the same way I destroyed Prosecutor Kim. The same way I exposed your entire operation on national television. I'm not afraid of you. The voice chuckled. No, you're not. That's what makes you dangerous. And valuable. Valuable. The Beck Consortium is reorganizing. New leadership. New direction. And we could use someone with your particular skills. Your intelligence. Your courage. Your complete and total disregard for your own safety. I looked at Jaiwon. His face had gone white. Are you offering me a job? I asked, incredulous. I'm offering you a choice. Continue being our enemy and spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Or join us. Use your talents for us. And become untouchable in a way you can't even imagine. And if I refuse, then we wait. We're very patient. And sooner or later, everyone makes a mistake. The line went dead. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then Jaiwon exploded.
No.
Absolutely not. You're not even considering this. I'm not, I said quickly. Of course I'm not. But I stopped. But what? But they just revealed something important. They're not going to kill me.
Not right now.
Because they think they can use me. I stood up, pacing. Which means we have time. Time to build a case so airtight they can't escape it. Time to turn the other corrupt officials. Time to dismantle them piece by piece. Or time for them to find a way to break you. I turned to face him. They won't break me. You know why? Because I'm not fighting for myself anymore. I'm fighting for every other woman who's been silenced. Every other foreign wife who's been treated like decoration. Every other person who's been too afraid to speak up against powerful people. You're not responsible for saving everyone, Zainab.
No.
But I'm responsible for the voice I have. And I'm going to use it. If you're loving this story and want to see how Zainab's war against the Beck Consortium ends, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what happens in the next few months? It's going to shock you. Let's continue. 2 weeks later, the Prosecutor General's investigation led to 47 arrests, including 3 members of parliament, 5 judges, and the CEO of Korea's second-largest bank. The Beck Consortium's infrastructure collapsed like a house of cards once the first few dominoes fell. Prosecutor Kim turned state's witness in exchange for a reduced sentence. He gave up everyone. Names, dates, amounts, offshore accounts. Everything. Jaiwon's uncle was sentenced to 15 years. The Beck patriarch's sons turned on each other in court, each one trying to minimize their own involvement by exposing the others. And me? I became the face of anti-corruption in Korea. Interview requests came from everywhere. Speaking engagements. Book deals. A documentary team wanted to tell my story, but the threat never fully disappeared. There were still members of the Beck organization who'd escaped. Still people who blamed me for the collapse of their empire. Still shadows in parking garages and strangers who watched too long. 6 months after the interview, Jaiwon and I sat in our new apartment euro, smaller than the mansion, more secure, easier to defend. We were eating takeout on the floor like college students because half our furniture hadn't arrived yet. Do you regret it? He asked. Going public? Everything that came after? I thought about it. Really thought about it. About the fear and the death threats and the armed guards who followed me everywhere now. About the way my mother cried every time we video called because she was terrified she'd lose her daughter. About the nights I still woke up shaking from nightmares about men with guns breaking down our door. No, I said finally. I don't regret it. Because I'd rather live in danger with my voice intact than live safely in silence. He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of something that felt like pride. My fierce Nigerian wife, he murmured against my lips. The woman who went to war with Korea's most dangerous criminals and won. We're not done yet, I reminded him. There are still people out there who want me dead. Then we'll deal with them. Together. Together, I agreed. My phone buzzed. Another message. Unknown number. I'm watching you, Mrs. Kong. And I'm waiting for my moment. I showed Jaiwon the message. Watched him tense, ready to call security, ready to add more protection, ready to build higher walls around me. Don't, I said. Don't let them see us scared. That's what they want. Instead, I typed back a response. I'm watching too. And I'm ready. Then I deleted the message, put my phone down, and went back to eating dumplings with my husband in our too-empty apartment that felt more like home than the mansion ever did. Because this was the truth they didn't understand. You can't break someone who's already chosen to stand. You can't silence someone who's decided their voice matters more than their safety. And you can't destroy someone who's stopped measuring their life in years and started measuring it in impact. I was Zainab Okoye-Kung, Nigerian, Korean wife, target of criminals, destroyer of empires. And I was done apologizing for taking up space in a world that wanted me invisible. 3 months later, my phone rang again. This time, a different voice. Mrs. Kong, this is Detective Park from the Seoul Metropolitan Police. We've arrested the last of the Beck Consortium's leadership. I wanted you to know, it's over. You're safe now. I thanked him, hung up, told Jaiwan the news. We sat there in silence, processing what safe meant after months of constant threat. What do we do now? He asked. I smiled.
Now?
Now we live. But even as I said it, I knew the truth. There would always be another threat, another enemy, another powerful person who wanted someone silenced. The difference was I wasn't afraid anymore. And that made me the most dangerous person in the room.
The end.
Except it wasn't the end.
Not really.
Because 2 weeks after that phone call, I got another message. This one wasn't a threat. It was an opportunity. Mrs. Kong, we're starting a foundation to protect witnesses who speak out against corruption. We need a director. Someone brave. Someone who understands what it costs to go public. Someone like you. Interested. I looked at Jaiwan, raised my eyebrows in question. He laughed. Actually laughed. Of course you are. Of course you're going to say yes. Because you can't help yourself. Is that a problem?
No.
He pulled me close. That's exactly why I love you. I typed back. When do I start? Because the story wasn't about one woman destroying one criminal organization. It was about what happens when you refuse to be silenced, when you choose courage over comfort, when you decide that your voice matters more than your safety.
It was about partnership.
Real partnership. The kind where two people stand side by side and face down the darkness together. It was about marriage. Not the fairy tale kind. The kind that gets tested by fire and comes out stronger. And it was about one simple truth. Silence protects the powerful. But speaking up changes the world. So I spoke up. And I kept speaking up. And I never looked back. What happened next? Did Zainab's foundation succeed? Did the threats ever truly end? If you want part 3 of the story, drop a white heart in the comments and let me know. Hit that like button if you're Team Zainab, and subscribe because these stories only get more intense. Comment below. Would you have gone public or disappeared? I want to hear your answer. See you in the next one.